knife of all smartphones. It's the phone that has everything and can do everything. Or at least it usually is actually going to be super interesting. The Note 10 Plus is arguably one of the most feature-rich smartphones on the market right now. To remove the vivid back panel, we'll break out the heat gun. The glass and metal glass panel, I do have to take special care not to flex once the adhesive is warmed up and softened underneath the glass. My suction cup can pull up and my razor blade and pry tools can slice through the adhesive. It's a very tedious process. The inexpensive and even harder than usual to open up is the curve of the glass that wraps around the side port. Looking at this flashy tie-dyed tech, we finally get the back panel to separate from the phone. The rear glass doesn't have any electronics attached to it. All the wireless charging is built into the phone body. To go deeper, we'll have to remove head screws. Thumbs up to Samsung for not using proprietary screws. Once those are out, I can fold over the metal plate and unplug the golden battery connector. The wireless charging coil's plugged in right next to it. Unplugging that releases the wireless coil from the phone. You might be thinking to yourself, hey Jerry, why do you keep calling this black sheet a coil? That's because it is. You can see the circular shape of the copper windings underneath the black covering. These internal phone, we see a large rectangular housing. This is used to store the S, which we discovered when we carefully disassembled the S pin in the Turbo. I can remove the front-facing camera. It's a 10 megapixel little guy with no optical image stabilization. The black square here in the center of the motherboard is the earpiece. Strangely enough, it's in a weird location. We'll dig more into ribbon cables down here along the bottom of the motherboard, along with another ribbon on the right side, each unsnapping like a little Lego. Then I can remove the SIM and SD card tray. Remember that Samsung made 3 versions of this phone. The regular sized Note 10 does not have an SD card slot housing at this point. The reason why this motherboard has 2 colors is that it's actually 2 motherboards stacked on top of each other, kind of like we saw inside of the newer iPhones. It's a thick sandwich of really expensive technology, a pad-looking thing. Let's take a look at the cameras. This block of cameras is another piece of mind-blowing tech. The Note 10 Plus wide-angle camera is up top, with no optical image stabilization. Then there's a regular 12 megapixel normal camera times optical zoom camera at the bottom. This also has OIS, just inside of your eyeball, to get the optimal light for your eye. This little circle opens and since we already took out the screws. The plastics contain the bottom loudspeaker. It's got the same little baffle balls hidden inside the speaker, like we saw in the OnePlus phones. It's a little ball pitching port can come away from the frame of the phone. With the Galaxy S10, this port was not replaceable, so I'm glad Samsung changed their minds and didn't permanently attach the charging port to the motherboard again. Another change is that now we have a square vibration motor. This probably can take your phone harder to repair, so that instead of fixing it, you just go buy a new one. And Samsung is just as guilty as the rest of them with this permanently glued-in battery. Each bend of this battery as I try to remove it is super dangerous. The internal layers could pinch together and short out at any moment, cause pull tabs like Apple does, especially considering their history. And as the largest smartphone manufacturer in the world, Samsung should cut my fingers off, and 2, so that I can stop saying Apple has them beat in one area. That's more painful than losing a finger. The battery of the Note 10 Plus is a 4300 mAh. The regular Note 10 would be a 3500 mAh. Another mind-blowing piece of tech inside this Note 10 Plus is the super slim underscreen fingerprint scanner, glued direct. Today though, thing back together. Seeing the outline of the scanner with my LED light is pretty cool though. There are a few things left before we see now that Samsung dropped even one useful feature like the headphone jack. But even without that feature, it's still one of the most, if not the most, well-designed and feature-rich cell phones you can buy right now. So if you're looking for the best of the best, and willing to pay a premium for 100% of what smartphones are capable of right now, this is probably the phone to get. Just keep in mind that you can probably get a perfectly decent phone that does 90% of what the Note 10 does for about half the cost from someone else. Smartphones decrease in value faster than a piece of used gum, so unless you make money with your smartphone, you can always just go get last year's version for a fraction of the price. There aren't very many substantial improvements between one year and another. And would you look at that? The whole thing still turns on. Gotta love that. The Note 10 Plus is a very tempting phone. I'll probably upgrade at some point in the future when there's a price drop or I can find a good deal. But for now, I'll just stick with my 2.5-year-old Galaxy A Plus for a little while longer. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. There's a price drop or I can find a good deal. But for now, I'll just stick with my 2.5-year-old Galaxy A Plus for a little while longer. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It's free, and you get to see the insides of every flagship phone, which is like, super interesting.